Good evening, it's Andrea, aka Chocolate Dimples. Tonight I'm calling this shadow work. This journey to wholeness has led me to do a lot of shadow work. I realized for me to become who I truly am, the best version of myself, I had to be willing to do what needed to be done to go into those to the dark places of my life because I really wasn't fully self-aware. And often my response, my behavior really was rooted in, you know, it was deeply rooted really in past versions of myself, if you will. I've been learning and practicing detachment for a while. I had to learn to detach myself from my past self. I had so many unhealthy attachments, unaddressed, you know, and unhealed trauma that was often resulting in the negativity in my life. I had to start asking myself real questions. I remember, I started ask myself, why are you attached to a particular person? Why are you holding on so hard? You've done this for a long time. Throughout your life, you've done this where you held on to someone really, really tightly when the universe was saying, hey, let it go. So many times throughout my life. And I was like, why? Why do you hold on? Well, I realized that I had, you know, a lot of unaddressed abandonment issues. That little 4-year old girl who was left alone, several times in the projects when her mother wanted to go out to the club. Ultimately, I ended up living with my grandmother as a result of that. But so often I would, miss my mom, and she said, I'm gonna come get you. I'll be back. I'll come get you, and I wouldn't see her from sometimes weeks and months at a time. I had to address that, heal that. You know, I wondered, why did I always quit on myself? When I became an adult, like, why did you start quitting on yourself so often? I had to go back into the shadows, and hidden in the shadows was, rejection. There was, really a fear of success. You know, it was crazy. I had to ask myself, why had you allowed yourself to be mistreated by people? And then beg them to stay. So, well, lurking in the shadows was the young Andrea who was always different, never quite fit in, hadn't found her tribe. That's what really what it was. I hadn't found my tribe yet, and I seemed to walk alone a lot, and it was hard for me, But I started addressing those things. Hell, that's what my strength is that I can walk alone. I know that's a strength, you know. This journey, man. If you really want to be whole, you have to be willing to follow where it leads you, you know. And for me, it led me to self awareness and self discovery. When I began this journey, oh my God, it was so hard. The road was extremely hard to maneuver, laborsome. Oh my God, it was ugly. It was painful. It sucked. Relationships started to turn upside down. Some just were abruptly in, and for a minute I started feeling alone again, and I had started, dealing with that. And well, what I noticed was that the relationship that it impacted the most was me, was the one with myself. And as I really got into the dirt, started really getting into those crevices of my life, of my past, I finally got to a place where I started to see the light. And what was crazy is the light that I was seeing was actually coming from me. I was detaching myself from who I used to be, those past experiences. And now, mind you, I've had moments where it didn't seem like I had. I had one recent, not true. I was, I'm human, had a trigger, and then foolishly had an edible. We're not gonna talk about that. But anyway, you know, but those things don't affect me now because I really started to look at them and be honest with myself. You know, I had to be willing to get into the fight. It was a fight. Cause when you start looking at yourself and looking deeply, you realize how much you need to let go. And it's so funny. People always talk about having skeletons in the closet. I'm like, who cares about skeletons? Hell, they're dead. What about the living things that are affecting you right now that are keeping you from living the fullness of life? I had so much of it. I had to get rid of so many things. I'm like, you gotta kill this stuff because it's killing you. As I started getting rid of those things, again, it was uncomfortable, but my perspective started to really change. I'm like, wait a minute, the fight is with you. You got to be willing every day to get into this fight and fight for your life. Every day, win these small battles so that you can win the war. And when you start fighting you and defeating the things within yourself, you don't even have any time to fight anyone else. Because you realize if you don't have any battle, if you don't have a fight, if you're not fighting with you, if you conquer this, you don't have no problem with no one else. Because you realize how they're fighting their own battle. Anyway, I hope that makes sense. I love you guys. Thank you for taking 6 7 months out of your life to listen to me. God bless you, and I wish you a great week. One of abundance, joy, forgiveness, and self love. Peace and blessings, y'all. I'm out.